We have an unusual happenstance in that our first reading is not from the Old Testament and it's not from Acts. It is from the book of Revelation. How about that? Revelation chapter 7. And then our psalm response is from Psalm 34. And then we have a reading from 1 John chapter 3. And then we get the Beatitudes section of Matthew chapter 5. Now, All Saints Day for the church is basically, it's the church's version of Memorial Day, okay? And originally it was a way to honor people who died in the faith as martyrs and such, and it got expanded more and more. Then became this tradition of All Souls Day, which was the day after, which is the second day. We kind of treat All Saints Day as kind of like an All Souls Day in that we celebrate all the faithful who have passed, whether it be by way of martyrdom or what have you. In our reading from the book of Revelation, it comes from chapter 7. Now, the book of Revelation is a big cipher for most of Christendom, not knowing a whole lot about it. We do know that there's this structure of sevens that are set up, and the scene that we get today is a scene that happens as an interlude or like an intermission between or in the midst of the unsealing of the seven seals, right? If you've read through the book of Revelation, you're probably familiar with the seven seals, right? Well, between the opening of the sixth seal and the seventh seal, there is an interlude, okay? And the interlude is always some sort of a vision of a revelation of the reality of what's going on in the ethers, in the heavenly places, right? The whole book of Revelation, by the way, we got to get this out of the way. It is a writing that is intended to uplift people whose faith may be failing due to the fact that they are experiencing a persecution which is taking away people that they love, and it is causing consternation on, like, is this really worth it? People having second doubts, like, oh, should I keep this faith or should I let this go and embrace something else? There's all of that is going on, and the literature of the book of Revelation, the apocalypse of God, is to manifest to people, all will be well. That's the overall vision of it, is that all will be well. We just have to let ourselves see through the circumstances, okay? The circumstances can create an experience that is not true to true reality. That's what the book of Revelation is trying to say, and that is what we kind of get a picture of in this interlude in Revelation chapter 9, verses 9 to 17. After this, I, John, looked, and there was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and nations, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, robed in white, with palm branches in their hands. We're not familiar with scenes like this, right? But this is a heavenly vision, right? The palm branches, this was a common thing that was used to wave to victorious victors. Yeah. And so this is a traditional thing that you would wave, right? The throne, notice it says that that there was this multitude, no one from every nation, right? So it's not a partial thing or just an ethnic reality, right? All tribes, peoples, nations standing before the throne and before the Lamb. The Lamb, of course, is the depiction of the slain Christ who was raised. And notice it says, and before the Lamb, robed in white, okay, with palm branches in their hands. Now, we're going to get a little bit bigger picture of who these people are that are robed in white as the reading goes along. They cried out in a loud voice, saying, "Salvation belongs to our God, who is seated on the throne, and to the Lamb." And all the angels stood around the throne and around the elders and the four living creatures, and they fell on their faces before the throne and worshiped God. It's a big scene of heavenly worship, right? This is when words try to express what a heavenly vision would look like, what bliss would look like. It might not sound exciting to us, because it's like, wow, really? That's what heaven's going to be like? That doesn't sound all that exciting. Well, if you compare it to a reality whereby it's all nothing but pain and discord and strife, yeah, this looks pretty good, right? But notice all the angels stood around the throne, all the elders and the four living creatures. That these were all described earlier, okay, as those things that were there. And now we have the song. They were singing, "Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be to our God forever and ever. Amen." Then one of the elders addressed me, saying, now, who's the me? The me is the revelator, okay? In the context of what we have in the Revelation, John, the seer, he interacts occasionally with those people in the scene, which is kind of an interesting way to do and to relate a vision, yes? Then one of the elders addressed me, saying, "Who are these robed in white, and where have they come from?" This is just simply a way of him conveying to us what we're already thinking, okay? I said to him, "Sir, you know, you are the one that knows." And then he said to me, so the question is, these people who are robed in white, that's not the same thing as the four living creatures, the elders, the angels. No, it's not the same thing. There's all of that. There's the angels. There's the elders. There's the four living creatures. None of which are we going to go into detail about. But then there are these who are robed in white, and this is the take-home thing for this, right? Then he said to me, "These are they who have come out of the great ordeal." Yeah, they have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Notice the discontinuity of reality and experience. Blood is not white. Blood is red. So if you're going to wash something in blood and it's going to come out white, this is a discontinuity of experience. Experience says that's not happening, right? In the experience of the church that was happening during this time of persecution and people being killed for their faith, the experience was, wow, this isn't really that good. This seems kind of horrible. This is bad. Maybe I should not pursue this faith any longer. So this is the realm that this is dealing with. Our experience is valid, but it isn't always trustworthy with regard to what reality is. Yeah. Our reality is our experience, right? Well, that doesn't mean that's true reality. That's just our experience. Yeah, this is what this is teaching. For this reason, they are before the throne of God and worship him day and night within his temple, and the one who is seated on the throne will shelter them. They will hunger no more and thirst no more. The sun will not strike them, nor any scorching heat. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd. Yeah. Remember, this is the turnaround of the metaphor of the shepherd and the sheep, right? The lamb is going to actually be the shepherd. Yeah, a turnaround of reality and experience, right? And he will guide them to the springs of the water of life, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. So, in the end, that's the end of our reading. Now, in the context of All Saints' Day, what this reading does is give us a vision of hope and comfort for those that have died in the faith. This gets back to the original meaning of All Saints' Day, in that martyrdom was considered to be there's no greater honor than for one to be martyred for the faith. Therefore, those who remain, who have lost people to martyrdom, don't got to be worried about them. That's the way that's the hope that our narrator is trying to convey, right? So let's look at a psalm. Remember, the psalms are picked out as a way of garnering a valid response from the reading that we just had. And so this psalm is Psalm 34, verses 1 through 10, and then verse 22, which is the final verse. I will bless the Lord at all times. Well, I'm going to read it from our translation. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall ever be in my mouth. I will glory in the Lord. Let the humble hear and rejoice. Proclaim with me the greatness of the Lord. Let us exalt his name together. So as it starts out, it sounds like the kind of thing that you could hear from those people who were wearing the white robes that we read from in Revelation, right? I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me out of all my terror. Okay. Then it goes through a teaching mode, right? The first 4 verses are like, this is the declaration of what I did and the experience of how things came about and how it happened. Now we get didactic in nature. Look upon him and be radiant, and let not your faces be ashamed. It's as though the dead who have moved on are then speaking to us as like, let this be a lesson to you. Don't let this, the horrors of what happened to us be something that you fear. Don't let it make you turn back. I called in my affliction, and the Lord heard me and saved me from all my troubles. The angel of the Lord encompasses those who fear him, and he will deliver them. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Happy are they who trust in him. Get it? Fear the Lord, you that are his saints, and those who fear him lack nothing. Probably the reason why we have this reading accompanying the Revelation reading for All Saints' Day is because it has the word saints in it quite seriously. That is probably why. If it weren't for the fact that it had the word saints, we probably wouldn't have it, but it does. Now, if you looked at this in a translation, like the New Revised Standard Version, that word for saints in verse 9 is actually translated as holy ones. We don't see the word saints in the Old Testament as a reference to the people of God very often. It really isn't something that we see at all, so except for here. So it is quite an anomaly in that respect. For those who fear him lack nothing. The young lions lack and suffer hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack nothing that is good. Yeah. So project this back into the mouths of those who have moved on as kind of instruction for those who are still here, right? The Lord ransoms the life of his servants, and none will be punished who trust in him. Okay, that's it for the psalm. You see how that theme carries on? Now, let's keep that theme going. In 1 John chapter 3, 1 John chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. Not a whole lot of here. So let's, I got to say a word about what we get with First John. There's 3 epistles of John. And what's clear about these epistles of John, and they're not from the same author as the Gospel of John, but they are definitely written by somebody who is steeped in the Gospel of John. And so it's almost as though it's like a midrash or a teaching based on taking the teachings of the Gospel of John and putting them into another context. And that's kind of what we have. And so we just get 3 verses here. Verses 1 through 3 of chapter 3 of First John. See what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of God. Hope you see the theme for All Saints Day of celebrating those who have gone on, kind of a Memorial Day for the church, right? So in answer to the question, like, well, what are we? We are the children of God, okay? This is something that we can relish in, we can celebrate it in. And that is what we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him. One of the big things in the Gospel of John, especially we get it in the prologue in chapter 1, is how God sent his word, and and it says that the world did not comprehend it, or the world did not understand it, or the world did not overcome it. The idea that there is an enmity, a built-in enmity between the world and the word, okay? And it's clear that in the way the Gospel of John, the expression of it, the word overcomes the world, okay? The world does not overcome, the word overcomes the world and it dominates. So that's where we get this dichotomy. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him, the world, right? Beloved, we are God's children now. This is the second time this has been stated in this passage, right? What we will be has not yet been revealed. So it's like, this is a reality, whatever the experience is. Again, it goes back to that, right? Whatever your present experience is, and your present experience might not be that great. In fact, it probably isn't, considering the time that this was written, right? And it's written to a people who are not exactly experiencing the best of times. But to be called God's children and to say, beloved, we are God's children now. So even now, despite everything, and in the experience, and contrary to the reality that your experience says that this is, what we will be has not yet been revealed. What we do know is this: when he is revealed, we will be like him, for we will see him as he is. This is the beginning of what we hear as the already and not yet experience of the saved Christian, okay? The idea that, yes, salvation is a present experience. It's an already experience, but it's always also a not yet, in that there's more to it than just what we have experienced up to now. There's something better coming. There's something more. What we do know is this: when he is revealed, and this is a reference to the eschaton, the coming, and not the second coming as we call it. In the Bible, it's just called the coming, the parousia. This is the revelation. This is the recognition of God's promise of Jesus' return, and everybody recognizing that what God did do in Jesus is universal, okay? What we do know is this: when he is revealed, we will be like him, for we will see him as he is. And in the coming, it's like we don't know what that exactly means, because when we see pictures of the eschatological Christ, it's as a lamb that has been slain. Yeah. So it's like, oh, if I am going through a rough patch, there's a lot we can identify with our Lord, in that we are going through a similar experience of, when you're being faithful, things aren't always going to go your way. Faithfulness isn't the key to what others might consider to be success in life, okay? It might not look like the kind of success that as success is defined, okay? We will be like him, for we will see him as he is. Remember, as a crucified and risen Lord. Evidence that crucifixion has happened, but yet resurrection still, right? The idea here is it does not want to negate our earthly experiences, but it does want to indicate that the truth of what our experiences tell us can sometimes be tainted. For then we will see him as he is, and all who have this hope in him purify themselves just as he is pure. The key to, the access to, the experience of salvation is in this hope, okay? That what we are doing now is the right thing, even though it doesn't look good and it feels bad. We have hope. There is something beyond what we can, beyond that present reality that we can reach for, that we can claim, that we can have a hope in, and therefore build our future and our life on that, so that we don't live this life in dread. Okay. We're moving on. Matthew. Now, Matthew, for our All Saints reading, we're getting it from the Beatitudes section, chapter 5. Now, we've been teaching through Matthew because that is the gospel for this year A, which we only have a few more weeks of. In fact, it only lasts until the end of November, and then we go into year B starting in December. This section of Jesus' teaching is the first of the beginning of the 5 sections that we typically see in Matthew. Why? Because Matthew wants to present Jesus as this, I'm going to say latter-day Moses, in that he reveals a way of being, a life, an instruction, a teaching, a law, if you will, from God that is the key to us experiencing what it is God wants for us here and now, okay? Now, the Beatitudes are the equivalent of the 10 Commandments in literary structure wise, okay? When Jesus saw the crowds, what? He went up the mountain, just like Moses did. And after he sat down, by the way, whenever you see it being said that Jesus sits down, that is what you did as the teacher. Yeah, in Jewish tradition, that's what you did when you were the teacher. And before you started doing your teaching, you didn't stand up like a professor in a lecture hall behind a lectern. No, you sat down. That's the position of the teacher. After he sat down, his disciples came to him. Now, here it says his disciples. Does that mean that it was only the 12 that we think of as the disciples, or was it a bigger picture? This isn't something we're necessarily or told that it's limited to the 12. Matthew doesn't seem to have that distinction like Luke does. But anyway, here we have then he began to speak and taught them, saying, okay,
And here we get into it. They're called Macarisms because I think that's the word for blessing in Greek. Macarism. Blessed are you. Blessings and beatitudes, Macarisms. What they are proclamations of truth, proclamations of reality. Maybe not necessarily experienced reality, but true reality, okay? They are not intended to be statements that say, in order to be this, you've got to do this, or here, this is a means to that end. No, this is a statement of reality, and it is proclamative in that, it's generated, the fact of being said conveys the blessing in and of itself. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to try. There's nothing to feel, oh, I need to do better with that. No, that's not what it is. It's a statement of reality, and it's a statement that is supposed to allow people to identify with each statement if that's where they find themselves. Okay? Look at this. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Notice it doesn't say, in order to experience the kingdom of heaven, you need to be poor in spirit. No. It's saying, blessed are the poor in spirit. It's as though if that's where you find yourself, if you're technically, this is it could speak toward people who don't have or aren't, let's put it this way, aren't in touch with a spiritual life the way we might identify a spiritual life. That doesn't necessarily mean that is non-existent, just because it's different from the way we experience it, right? Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. It isn't saying that in order to be comforted, you must mourn. No, it's just saying that being one who mourns, well, the upshot is comfort will come. Get how this is an expression, an eschatological expression of the reality that is beneath the experience. All right? We're not present to the experience, but it's something that's there beneath it. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. We don't think of the meek as like, they're not going to get anything because they're so meek, right? There's a different reality beyond the experience, the observed experience and the experienced experience, right? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Again, in the context of a Memorial Day, of honoring the dead, those who experienced these deprivations that may have led to their death. There is in the life to come a fulfilling of what it is that they lacked on earth. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Participating in what God is doing is like you get what you give. You get what you give. Yeah. The love you get is equivalent to the love you give. Isn't that like a Beatles song or something? Or something like that, right? The love you give is equivalent to the love you give. The love you get is a function of the love you give. Anyway, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Just like, well, this is the reality. It might not be the experienced reality because the pure in heart might end up getting slaughtered, right? For they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Okay, participating in being what God was doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be celebrated. It could mean you're crucified, but does not take away your sonship or your daughtership, your being a children of God-ship, okay? Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Again,
See how it gets to the lived experience versus the way, you know, how it is for God versus how it is for us. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Does this not remind us of the picture that happened in the Jesus trial and the unjust accusations and such that came out? The way it comes down to this really gets back to the heart of the origins of what we call of All Saints Day, because it's celebration of the martyrs, right? Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Yeah. The lesson in the All Saints Day, it comes back over and over again that in the lived experience of the church, we don't always experience here. We're not always present right here and now to what will be. The true experience is that which is promised, and this is something that we can always carry with us, that nobody can take it away, and it's something that if we can profitably live with it, it will substantially change our experience of the circumstances we find ourselves in. Yeah, it will change our experience. It will transform our experience. It's not going to change our circumstances, but it will transform our experience. And when our experience gets transformed, that's when we actually find an attitude adjustment. That's when we find ourselves being able to be loving to other people. All of that, yeah, I believe is possible if we claim the truth of what these scriptures do promise us. That is it for our All Saints Day text. Until next time, peace.